Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another vinyl and CD music finds video for another month here in 2024. We are winding down the year. Just a few more months left. Hard to believe we are already into September. And yeah, was able to actually pick up some records this year. It's been a while. By this year, I mean this month. I was able to pick up some records. I haven't been able to do that for a while. I'm very thankful to be able to pick some up. Budgets have just been tight for a few months, and yeah, very happy to have a few records here. A lot of new reissues, a couple of new records, actual new 2024 albums, and I was able to go to a record store that I've never been to about a week or so ago. So very excited to show you all what I bought there. So let me start with some CDs. I picked up again a few new things. This is one of the latest. Oh, well, it's the latest from Van Morrison, called Van Morrison Live at Orangefield. This was recorded in 2014 at Orangeville, excuse me, Orangefield Secondary School. It's where Van Morrison played his first gig back in 1959, and he came back and played a bunch of songs that span his career. He does Into the Mystic, Cleaning Windows, Orangefield, Moondance, Precious Time. He also does a version of That's Life. He does, Ballerina from Astro Weeks, Rough God Goes Riding from Healing Game. So all sorts of good stuff on here. It's Van Morrison. It's not, it's Van Morrison live. Is it, Van Morrison tearing down the house? Not really. But I'm a Van Morrison completist, so I had to get Van Morrison at Orangefield. Another new album from earlier this year. This is Sierra Farrell and her album Trail of Flowers. Sierra Farrell is kind of a new country. She has a lot of bluegrass influence. Her voice sounds like some of the old traditional country singers. Her singing is more country than it is bluegrass, but she's fantastic. And this album, I've only given it one spin, but I mean it's going to be a grower for sure. It's going to be one that's going to be in the running for my top 10 favorite albums of the year, maybe even top 5, but it is fantastic. Go check out the song Dollar Bill Bar, and then also listen to the song I Could Drive You Crazy. Fantastic. Another live one, another new one, which I haven't listened to yet. This is Willie Nelson, The Border. It's still on the shrink. I got this at Barnes & Noble. This is one of 2 albums that Willie Nelson is releasing this year. The second one is called Last Leaf, which is coming out later this year. But, I'm not expecting this to blow me away. But again, with the last few years of Willie Nelson material, I've been trying to collect everything. So Willie Nelson, The Border on CD. Happy to have that. And then I bought a couple CDs at the record store. And one I didn't own from Paul Simon. This is Paul Simon's Songs from the Caveman. I don't know anything about this other than it's produced partly by Roy Haley, who had produced Simon and Garfunkel records and is still producing Paul Simon's newer material in his 80s. So glad to fill in a Paul Simon CD gap, and then also to fill out another Van Morrison CD gap. This is his album Days Like This. I think I only need 3 more Van Morrison CDs to complete my Van Morrison CD collection. Happy to have this. This has Days Like This on it, which is a fantastic tune. Again, that's the only one that I really know from that. This is from 1995, and very very happy to have this. So Days Like This, absolutely love that track. So again, happy to have additional Van Morrison in my collection. Now let's go ahead and jump into some vinyl records. Let me go ahead and start with the record store finds. These were all $10 picks. Again, very excited to have these. The first one is going to be the self-titled debut by Christopher Cross. Again, you might remember I reviewed a Christopher Cross concert that my mom and I saw, I think earlier last month, and this album was just reissued on vinyl, on pink vinyl, I think, remastered, all that good stuff. But $30 new vinyl. This was $10. It looks brand new, vinyl wise. This has the big hit, Ride Like the Wind, Sailing is on here. Just some classic yacht rock, early Christopher Cross. Came with the original sleeve here, and yeah, very happy to have that. Again, $10 from that. Again, Paul Simon, One Trick Pony. This is his soundtrack of the movie of the same name that he starred in. The big hit on here was Late in the Evening, but it also had Ace in the Hole was on here, um, and How the Heart Approaches What It Yearns was also a minor tune, but came with the original inner sleeve. So again, happy to have that to fill in my Paul Simon collection. Again, keeping with Willie Nelson, I didn't own this album. This is one of my favorite Willie Nelson records. It's my dad's favorite. This is Stardust, Willie Nelson. This was when Willie was doing the standards, long before people that, everybody does standard albums now, but this was long before that was a big tradition. I mean, obviously you had others that had done that in the past, Ringo Starr being one, who was covering standards on his album, Sentimental Journey, the first album after the Beatles. But this is Willie Nelson putting his own take on these. And I mean, most of these songs sound like they could have been Willie Nelson originals. He does Stardust. That was a hit. Georgia on My Mind is fantastic. All of Me, Blue Skies, September Song. Don't get around much anymore. It's just fantastic. And yeah, Booker T. Jones is on here. Paul English on the drums, his longtime drummer, Mickey Raphael, all the players that were with with Willie Nelson. And very happy to have this. It's very, very clean. And yeah, Stardust. Very excited to have that to add to my Willie Nelson collection. This was an album I'd never seen before. This is the Oscar Peterson Trio, a jazz portrait of Frank Sinatra. Obviously, you have the great piano player Oscar Peterson and his trio of Ray Brown on piano, and then Ed Thigpen on the drums. Excuse me, Ray Brown on bass. I'm sorry about that. Oscar Peterson on piano. But you have a bunch of Frank Sinatra tunes on here. You have You Make Me Feel So Young, Learning the Blues, Witchcraft, The Tender Trap, Saturday Night is the Loneliest Night of the Week, I Get a Kick Out of You, a bunch more. And yeah, it's on the Verve label, which I just think is so cool. It might be my favorite label. Between that and maybe the original Parlophone label, I love the Verve label on that black vinyl. And this looks almost virtually unplayed. I think it is a second press. The album came out in 1959. I think this is from 1961, based on my Discogs, scrounging about. But yeah, I'm just very happy to have that. I'll put that away later. It's taking a minute. And then lastly, I picked this up. Now this was interesting. This is the Monkees headquarters in Mono, as you can see by the sticker from the store. Now I've got a couple of interesting things about this. When I was looking through it, I was texting some buddies of mine that are big Monkees fans. And it's a Monkees record, so you've got some dry, a dry spine there, but it says mono, and then again, this is an original Cole Gems, and then you have the label there, which has mono hand stamped on there as well, but again, and because it's mono, there are some spindle marks on here. But because it's mono, it's built to be put up with, to essentially be played through thick and thin. And it's a good quality record. But when you look at the back here of the label, you will see, and I'm not going to fold it up because it'll crack. It says stereo at the top. Now, when I talked to the guy at the record store, I was a little interested to know, like, why, is it mono? Is it not? Is it stereo? And what he said was because everything was, mass produced back then, they were just utilizing all of the sleeves that they had and were sticking, the labels on the back, and that might be true. I got different opinions from some of my friends. I would love to know if anybody in the comments has anything to say about that. But based on the serial numbers and all the dead wax information, it's showing that the record itself is indeed mono. He said it wasn't a Frankenstein record, like it wasn't a mono put into a stereo sleeve. So I don't know about this, but one way or the other, it's an original. I'm happy to have it if it is a stereo. I didn't have a stereo. If it's a mono, I didn't have a mono. So no harm, no foul. And for those that really care, the back covers are not the pictures of the monkeys with beards. So that's a indicator for some folks. So from that, I will then move to this right here. And you may be asking yourself, why does Sam have 2 copies of Headquarters? Well, you'd be correct. This is a second copy of Headquarters, but this is a stereo version, just newly released by Rhino Records from 2024. Now, the actual mastering of this was done by Kevin Gray, and we all know, Kevin Gray and, the long list of accolades that he has. This was overseen by Andrew Sandoval, who was, a long time advocate for the Monkees. He's done works with, the Kinks, the Zombies. He's huge in preserving 60s, pop music. Worked a lot with the Monkees and their reunion tours in the last, 25 years or so. He's written a huge tell-all book about the Monkees. So Andrew Sandoval is on this record in terms of his name, and that means that it is legit. There are other companies that have put out similar versions of this record. One of them being called Friday Music. They're not in the same kind of sphere as these reissues. Now, what this stems from is you might remember, you Monkees fans, a few years ago, Run Out Grooves released the first album, The Monkees, self-titled, and then More of the Monkees in this 2-disc format, which this one follows the same format. Run Out Grooves put those out. Andrew Sandoval's fingerprints were all over them. Yes, the records were clean, but yeah. So and then Run Out Grooves kind of just went by the wayside. I think Rhino kind of absorbed them as a company. And people have been clamoring for like the last year and a half, 2 years for Headquarters. And then the rumor was, again, talking to friends of mine that are Monkees people, the rumor was that all of the original Monkees records right up to the album Changes from 1970 were cut, were already remastered by Kevin Gray. But Run Out Grooves, again, fell by the wayside. So the news is that all of these are now going to be reissued on Rhino Records, the way that Run Out Grooves did. So these are the definitive reissues of the Monkees records. Again, this is the original album with a bonus disc with a bunch of cuts that date back to 2022. There was a big Headquarters box set that came out. So the remastering happened in 2022. But anyway, Monkees Headquarters. This is still in the shrink. I haven't opened it. It's on colored vinyl, although I think Rhino is already reissuing a black vinyl version already, so you don't feel as special to have this. But anyway, Monkees Headquarters. I have 2 copies now on vinyl. And lastly, I've got to give a shout out to my boy Alex over at Beer and Vinyl, who just recently saw this band for the first time. It's a shared band for both I and him. He dates back with their history a little bit further than I do because he's old. But Alex just recently got to go see the Avett Brothers in Columbus, Ohio, and had a great time from what I understand. Talked to him a little bit about it. But the day after the show, his local record store announced that there were some records that the Avett Brothers came in and signed. And so the store was selling everything that they had for standard retail price. They didn't up the charge for having the signatures on the records. So Alex was texting me. We called him, talked on the phone. I was like, Alex, I've got to get one. So he asked me which one I wanted. I could have gotten more than a couple, but again, I was kind of on a budget. And so I said, let me go with like their go-to classic. I think it would look good with the signatures on there. So Alex, thank you for picking this up. No, he didn't give it to me. He's not that generous, but he did pick it up for me, and I, shot him some change for it. This is a copy of I Am Lovin' You by the Avett Brothers. This was their first record put out with Rick Rubin on American Records, and you can see it's signed by the core Avett Brothers here. You have Bob Crawford, the bass player, down here. You have Joe Kwan here. You have Scott here, and then you have Seth here, Seth Avett, signing it as Timothy Avett, which is kind of cool, which is his first name. So thank you so much for this, Alex. This is going to go in a frame at some point. I have a playing copy, but I'm so happy to have this. It's awesome. So there you go, everybody. Sorry about the lighting. I'm filming this at dusk. The light is quickly going down below the horizon. So I'm going to let y'all go. But thanks for tuning in for this. And yeah, I've got a few videos that I'm hoping to record here in the next couple of days. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, y'all be good. Take care. And we'll talk to you in the next one. Bye now.